Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm reacting to your absolutely unhinged petty revenge stories. These are all from the Charlotte Dobre YouTube subreddit. You don't only have to post wedding content on there, although it is preferred. We do love a wedding story. We've got petty revenge, we've got am I the a-hole? I really love that you guys are really participating in this community because like the content that's coming from this is some of the best I've ever seen. And I just feel like we're just like chatting and like spilling the tea, and I love it. I love getting to know you guys better. I took my house with me. Do tell. This is long, so settle in with a drink. You'll want a hard drink and some popcorn. My loss is your gain. I don't have a drink. I don't drink while I'm working. I'm sorry.
Beer, 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 beer.
But one thing that I've learned is I can actually enjoy things sober. Been sober for about a month now. It's kind of nice.
I'm so fun, I promise.
I'm gonna start by saying I don't care if I'm the a-hole or not. This isn't that post. Okay, go off, queen. We love a self-aware queen. Remember, we can be a-holes. Sometimes we need to be the a-hole in someone else's story. My 27 female and my husband, 32 male, we'll call him Matt, had a great relationship when we were dating. It wasn't until I met his parents, specifically mother, that I had a small idea of what I was getting into. When we would see his mom, she would make little comments about what I was wearing. That just doesn't look quite right on you, dear. Or have you tried to find that in a bigger size? Although before we could leave the house, Matt always said I looked great. He would still reply to her that it wasn't his favorite look on me either.
Yeah, I don't like that. She doesn't look very good, does she? Yeah, I love you, Mom.
Lots of red flags that I ignored, believing they were no big deal. Fast forward to after our wedding. We had bought a beautiful house. I have an amazing job that I love, and the bonus to it is I was pulling 6 figures with it. Ooh, love that for you. Yes, successful queen. The house was bought under my name because his credit was horrible. He didn't like that, did he? The little negging that's going on, trying to knock you down a peg a bit. I see what's going on here. Matt was working as well, but wasn't making half of what I was bringing home. But it never bothered me. Well, it doesn't bother you. They don't like it though. Kind of hurts their ego a bit. I don't think his parents knew where our money was coming from though. All they saw was our gorgeous home and assumed he was the main breadwinner. That's interesting that his mom was so willing to like criticize you and like also didn't know that you were the main breadwinner. I don't know if she would have been so quick to criticize if she knew the full story. I kept hearing little comments when I was supposed to be busy doing other things from his mother to him about how I was a gold digger and didn't deserve him. I never mentioned it, thinking first of all, I wasn't supposed to overhear it, and second, I'm sure he'd set the record straight. Why would he do that? He's hearing all the right things from his mommy he never heard. She's so proud of him and his beautiful house. He should get a prettier wife. A year into our marriage, Matt's mom, who had been visiting our home quite often by this point for weeks at a time, brought up moving in with us. Maybe if you were like nice. We had an ADU, aka granny flat unit behind the house, and I knew they were struggling with their house payment, so I agreed to it until they could find somewhere else they could afford. Yeah, something tells me they're not gonna leave. Yeah, they're gonna stay there with you forever. Shortly after they moved in, Matt and I set up a vacation to Maui and asked if his parents could come with us. I wasn't keen on the idea, but he assured me that they wouldn't be staying with us and would do their own thing. Then he told me that we would be paying for it. So in other words, you would be paying for it. Just a family of freeloaders, eh? I reluctantly agreed, telling him that I wasn't going to pay for their food or extra spending, and he agreed. When the day came for us to leave, I woke up late. My alarm clock had been turned off, even though I was sure I had set it. Nobody was home. The plane was boarding at the same time I woke up. What? I frantically tried calling all 3 of them, and each of their phones kept going to voicemail. I had an awful feeling, think Home Alone, and decided to check our Ring camera. What I saw absolutely took my breath away. Oh God, I kind of wish I had a drink right now. I'm kidding. All 3 of them were walking out the door, suitcases in hand, laughing and joking about what a great vacation they were going to have without you. Oh, I can't believe the next sentence I just read also. Matt's mom even mentioned that she couldn't wait for him to meet another girl that was going. I called my travel agent and found out that they had switched my name on the ticket without my knowledge. In her defense, she didn't know it wasn't me changing the name. And yes, I was charged for that too. Oh my goodness. Ooh. You should never where you eat, what I always like to say. I wasn't as surprised as I expected I should have been. I was more just ready to take action. You moved in the shadows, Dr. Evil. As stated at the beginning of this, the house was in my name and mine alone. I love that you never put his name on the house. You hold all the cards. I immediately contacted my realtor and explained the situation. We immediately got to work. Gotta change those locks. Put all the stuff outside on the lawn. 2 days later, I get a phone call from him profusely apologizing to me, saying there was a mix-up somewhere along the lines and they thought I was meeting them at the airport. By the time they realized I wasn't there, it was too late to turn back. Oops. You actually think that she would believe that? That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You all lived in the same house and you didn't think to wake her up before you all left for the airport together? No one would believe that. Not to mention, she's got you all on camera kikiing about how much fun you're gonna have without her. Matt also told me he's sure I've realized by now that he had my credit card to put gas in the car on the way to the airport, and charges were no longer going through. Oopsie. That's the only reason he called you, bestie. It's because you're his meal ticket. Or you were his meal ticket. I told him I had no idea what was wrong with my credit card, even though I called and reported it missing, so of course they turned it off. I hung up with him after wishing him and his parents an amazing vacation. I knew he wasn't gonna realize that I also contacted my travel agent and canceled the return flights until they got to the airport. How are they going to get home? 2 weeks later, I was at home and I received a call from him in hysterics asking why their flight has been canceled. I told him there must have been some sort of mix-up somewhere along the lines and wasn't sure. I figured since I wasn't there, they could pay for their own way home. He did end up transferring money from our joint savings to cover it, but whatever. The next morning, he called me again, freaking out, asking why they were locked out of the house and wanted to know where I was. I don't know, there must have been some sort of mix-up. I didn't answer his first question, but I told him I was at home. He seemed to momentarily relax and asked me to open the door for him. After going to my front door and not seeing anybody outside, I told him that I think he had the wrong house and hung up. My phone was being blown up by all three of them, mostly him and his mom. I sent them all clips from the Ring camera, which I had saved and sent to my attorney, and the address to the storage unit where I had their belongings moved to when I sold my house. That was great. I loved that.
Satisfying.
3 days after that, I had divorce papers served to Matt at a motel he was staying at with his mom and dad. I've been happily divorced now for 3 years. That was delectable. I can't believe that. My God. What a horrible thing to do. Not you, no, what you did was great. Everyone is praising you in the comments, and I'm gonna give you some praise too. That was fantastic, my dear. I'm like really confused about the fact that you sold your house so quick. Thank you for sharing, my dear. Let's all give her a round of applause. God, I love it when freeloaders get cut off. This, my dear, you get an A. Man, I was really hoping you had bought a plot of land and had the house picked up and physically moved there. That would have been satisfying. Imagine coming home from all the self-inflicted debacles of the vacation to find your house gone, just missing. Just that little extra mile. You know, you still got an A. That would have made it an A+. Karma bit my boss in the butt after insulting me in front of guests. I started working in a hotel after I graduated from high school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life and decided to take a break. At work, I got very uncomfortable times, and sometimes I had to take double shifts. Let me point out that I didn't get an introduction, but was thrown into the job and had to learn everything on my own. I don't want to brag about myself, but I'm a very quick learner. That's not bragging, that's just stating facts. My boss was an a-hole. He would yell at me in front of guests, call me stupid, and question why I couldn't do something. Well, a student is only as good as the teacher. Those of you who have worked in hotels and service know what hell you can have with guests, and they complain about the slightest thing to get their money back. I decided to quit because I couldn't handle being treated so recklessly. On my last day, I had a guest that I could already see when she stepped through the door that this woman is Lucifer sent from hell. Goody. It's summer and the hotel is fully booked. She pushes her way into the queue and yells at everyone. No one could stand her, so they let her pass. She reserved 3 rooms for 12 people, 3 double rooms for 12 people. I I explained this was not allowed and there were no rooms left. Then she starts yelling at me and wants to talk to my boss and threatened to post me on Facebook. Okay, Karen, you think people care? My boss came out and apologized to this Karen and said I hadn't worked there for long. Bruh, it was my second year. He upgraded one of their rooms and downgraded another guest rooms who hadn't checked in. He thus let 3 people stay in a double room plus and the rest divided into 2 double rooms standard. Whatever floats your boat. This sounds like it's about to be very chaotic though. The manager scolded me in front of all the guests for saying to him that it was unfair to those who were downgraded who had paid more for the room, but that it also went against the rules for fire risk. The boss was furious when I said that, and there would be a deduction from the salary and I would not be allowed to work there. I was really angry. I thought it was my last day and I decided to take revenge. The next guest that was going to check in after Karen turned out to be the guest who had been downgraded. The guest asked about which room they had been given and wanted to double check if it was the same room they paid for. I knew I would get in for it, so I decided to tell the guests what had happened. I apologized and gave them a goodie bag. The guest was very surprised and wanted to talk to the manager. He wondered why they had been downgraded. The boss yelled at me and said I'm ignorant and stupid, that I was worthless and did not deserve anything good. He apologized to the guests and said that I lied. My eyes filled with tears and couldn't say anything. But here's the best part. It turned out the guests who were downgraded were inspectors. Who were unloaded as a couple to see how the hotel worked. My boss had to apologize to me at a staff meeting and was later fired for what he had done. Karma, my friends, it always comes back like a boomerang. Can we just collectively let out a sigh of relief and happiness and just pure satisfaction? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Delightfully fetty. You stayed on my last day. I had a guest that I could already see when she stepped through the door that this woman was a Lucifer sent from hell. If this was your last day, how was it you were at a staff meeting after this event to get the apology? Seems fishy to me. OP responds, the inspectors took note of how he treated me. Therefore, I received a message from the CEO who invited me to their staff meeting. As it was me, he violated. I also got a job offer, but I turned it down. You might think it's weird, but I wanted to hear him apologize to me when he made me feel bad constantly for 2 years. 2 years, eh? I wouldn't be able to put up with that for 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. My goodness. Guys, just so you know, you don't have to put up with people like that. There's a reason why there's job bureaus and stuff, people that you can report these types of things to. It might be a bit of a hassle to go through, but in the end, you're also saving other people from being treated that way. The worst part is they treat you so poorly that you have to quit so you don't get severance. Terrible. Does anyone have a good manager? I just feel like the vast majority of them really are just glorified high school bullies. I'm very curious to know. Let me know in the comments.
I have.
My dear, I wish you were just a little bit pettier. I wish you moved in the shadows. We're gonna give this one a B+. So, dad got a girl my age pregnant. Hey, not my story, but I was given permission to tell it. I'll tell it in first person. I'm Emma, 24, and my dad is 49, my mom 43. So in my high school years, my parents had problems, but they stuck together. Now in the beginning of the year, mom called me to come by the house. She explained that dad and her are getting a divorce because she found out he was cheating on her with Mrs. Smith from down the street. She also said she's suspecting there to be another woman who is much younger, but she couldn't get the evidence. Now, I'm obviously upset because mom and dad are getting a divorce and he's in a relationship with Mrs. Smith, who was like an aunt to me. I make peace with it and move on. Sometime in April, dad proposes to Mrs. Smith and they plan to get married in September. I kind of have mixed feelings about it, but I suck it up and help where I can. I thought, he's still my dad, so whatever, karma will find him. The one thing about karma, she's a petty. Now, Mrs. Smith has a daughter around my age. Oh. Don't say what I think you're about to say.
But do say it, yes, please.
I know what you're thinking.
Let's call her Alex. She was my childhood friend and would spend nights at my place when her parents were having problems. She was like a sister. She eventually left to stay with her dad once her parents got a divorce. She would occasionally come home, mostly if her mom was out of town. I remember seeing her in January of this year. Remember this, it's important for later. Now, obviously, Alex needs to come home since her mom is getting married. To my surprise, she was pregnant. Okay, so he cheated on your mama with Mrs. Smith, but then also cheated on Mrs. Smith with her daughter and got her pregnant. What do we like to say on this channel? Once a cheater, always a cheater. Believe me, if they've found the audacity once, they're sure as find it on sale again. We tried asking who the baby daddy is, but she would always shut down the question or avoid it. Strange, but okay, I won't dig. Fast forward to the wedding day and everyone is looking pretty, and my mom got an invite. She didn't show up because she was with her new boo on vacation. Ooh, love that for her. I'm there to get tea for mom. Okay, but you need to tell me everything. And be a somewhat supportive daughter. Internally, I spit on this wedding and spit on his bird poo looking suit. Now comes the golden time of the wedding. Does anyone have a reason for these two people to not get married? Alex stands up and says, I do. Everyone turns around and is like, what? Why? Okay, so little tidbit here of information. I thought initially that people don't really do does anyone have a reason for these people to not get married? I thought that was like something that people don't do anymore. I went to a wedding recently where they did say it. It was a little awkward. Like nobody said anything, but it was like definitely dampened the mood a bit. Cause like I do feel like there were some people who had a reservation or two about the couple. Like don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, you know what I mean? People who are like, oh, they don't say that at weddings anymore. It's like, actually, they do. So just throwing that out there. Alex walks up with the baby and says to my dad, you need to pay child support. And here is the DNA test. If you refuse, I'll drag you to court. Well, that's dramatic. I love it. Mrs. Smith fainted on the spot. The wedding was a mess. I rushed Alex to find out what exactly happened. Like, did you not know your dad was dating your mom? Turns out when she came to the house in January, she thought my dad and her mom were just close friends. He once found her drinking and decided to join her. One thing led to another. In her defense, she has a thing for older men, so that didn't surprise me. What was disgusting was she knew that was my dad. I mean, yeah. It's one thing to have a thing for older men. It's another thing to, giggity, your friend's dad. You're high on the list of people I dislike automatically if you do that. So girl, that's nasty. Keep your panties on. But what solved the mystery of who the younger woman was dad got his karma. Side note, Mrs. Smith was out of town for 1 week in January. Dad couldn't wait for 1 week. Please tell me they're together. Please tell me. Honestly, she kind of deserves it. Obviously, we're blaming the man in most situations, but we do blame the people that are like the homewreckers, right? Especially in a situation like this where you stole a man from somebody else. Yes, they were having problems in their marriage, but you still caused a divorce. You still cheated with a married man. And I'm sorry, but like, why did you think it would be different or better for you? It won't be, girl. It's not gonna be better. By rewarding that behavior, you're literally telling him that it's okay. You're telling him he can get away with behaving badly. He's not gonna be different for you. He's not.
You can't trust anyone.
No, you can't.
Oh God, my beauty light. Oh no! Now my true face is revealed. Some people are saying it's fake and everyone clapped. You know what? Everyone did clap. I'm clapping. This is honestly like, you didn't really do anything petty, but the karma that was served, Lady Karma, she gets a 10 out of 10. Those are some petty revenge and karma stories that were just absolutely unhinged, bestie. Keep them coming. Subscribe